Is Jeff on?
I don't know, but I can see you.
Oh, yeah, because I'm live. It's 4. We're ready to go. Okay, great. All right.
Hello, Michael.
Welcome, everybody. This is another edition of Caring Senior Service Founders Call with our CEO, Jeff Salter. Today's broadcast is why franchising. For those of you who may be new to the broadcast, I'd like for Jeff to tell a little bit about Caring Senior Service and a little bit about himself. For those of you who may not know much about Caring Senior Service.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for hosting this again for us. I get the question oftentimes. People ask about me and how I started the business, and it's sometimes useful for people to know where we began versus just knowing that we're in senior care and we're a franchise company. But I started my first senior care business in West Texas. Recognized the need for seniors that wanted to stay home and families that couldn't do that on their own. They couldn't really organize all the challenges that one faces when they decide to stay at home with scheduling conflicts. Can I be home when mom needs me to be home? Is dad going to have someone when no one else can be there? Got to go away on vacation, things of that nature. I initially worked at a home health company back in 1991 that didn't provide that type of service. They provided skilled care for someone, home health services, but and that included nurses, physical therapists, things of that nature, but didn't really include someone to be with their loved one around the clock. So oftentimes I got the call for people that were needing care extended periods of time. And at the time, that company I worked for, they just gave out a list of names and said, call these individuals and they can maybe help you out. And that worked for the most part for people, but I found that they would routinely call back and they would have an issue with a caregiver couldn't work a schedule. Maybe someone had to take a vacation themselves. Children got sick. They themselves got sick. So I found that people were calling me pretty routinely with a replacement caregiver. I would simply give out a list of names, and it was a process that I recognized was really broken. Didn't help the family, didn't help the senior with consistency. And I found that I could do something to kind of help that situation out. So I decided to start a company that would organize caregivers, make sure that I had plenty of people on call and available. And early on recognized that there were certain things to do from a customer service standpoint that just made all the difference in the world to those families and to those clients, and also to our caregivers. We were the first company that ever did things like caregiver introductions, where we would take the caregiver and introduce them to their client, show them what they were supposed to do, so the client didn't have to re-educate people each time. Our first client had a service plan. Our first caregiver completed a activity note or progress note, as the industry calls it. So our caregivers documented what they were doing while they're in the home. Families appreciated that. They want to know what the caregiver was doing during their time there. They appreciated that we had a service plan, so the caregiver knew exactly what was to be accomplished while they were there. And that helped us through transition of caregiver to caregiver, so that the family member knew that every caregiver was going to be able to follow the same type of plan, because it was really difficult to train new people. So recognizing that need was important, and then recognizing that the growth of the industry was still yet to come. In the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of businesses out there doing what we're doing today, though there are quite a few today. Early on, there were virtually none that were doing this service. So recognized that there was growth in the market and expanded the business from one location to multiple locations, primarily in South Texas. And then in early 2003, we decided to franchise the business and help other business owners do something that was positive. Owning a business can be rewarding in a number of ways, but sometimes you can feel like you're just doing something anybody could do. If you're making widgets, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a lot for your community. But we found that there was a lot of people that wanted to do something that meant a change in their life and was positive in every way. So senior care provides a lot of our owners with that personal satisfaction, knowing that they're helping those same families and clients that I was impacting early on. The fact that they get to do that in this industry and learning from a company that's been involved in doing this for such a long time has been exciting for us, and it's really interesting to see the growth, and we're happy to see the expansion of Caring Senior Service across the United States with 24 states that we're in and 50 locations. So it's really neat to see that expansion and growth as we've moved through the years. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for that background. As I stated earlier, this video is really designed to help future franchise owners or people that are just thinking about owning a franchise, or trying to decide whether going to business for themselves on their own or by partnering with the franchise system is the best thing for them to do. And so that may go across different industries. We certainly hope that you would consider a senior care business. But for those of you who are interested in learning more about the benefits of franchising, Jeff, can you kind of talk a little bit about what you think the benefits of owning partnering with a franchise system over opening on your own would be?
Sure. I could start off by kind of sharing what my experience was as a business owner, an entrepreneur who had started that first location, and then grew it to multiple locations. What I often found was that I felt like I was on my own. I had to figure everything out on my own, use my knowledge. I was able to go to other people that maybe were in business, get some advice from other business owners, but really didn't have a chance to go talk to people in the industry. There were some early on. There wasn't really a lot of industry organizations. Other businesses might benefit from those organizations, but we didn't really have a strong one in the early 90s. And so I really couldn't turn to my competitors when I was having issues that was about my business and about my business model. So it was really tough because I had fundamental questions I probably needed answered, and I just had to kind of figure those out for those first 12 years in business by myself. So one of the drawbacks of not being part of a franchise system is kind of being on your own, really isolated in that business ownership and that knowledge base. But some of the advantages are the institutional knowledge that is gained in a system. You're able to, over the course of time, tap into that institutional knowledge, and really increases your learning curve is greatly reduced, at least when you are part of a franchise system. You can turn to a number of experienced owners and, of course, to your franchisor as well, and talk to them about the issues you might be facing, how to deal with those issues. Oftentimes it's going to be part of the system itself is built in of how to deal with complications that arise with that particular industry. But also you have things like buying power. As a franchise system, you're able to band together to have a better buying power and negotiations in contracts. This can come in a number of ways. If you're a supply company that requires supplies, you can reduce the cost of those supplies by being part of a franchise system, often saving thousands and thousands of dollars per year in that with that buying power, but also negotiative contracts across the national level, because you get to come to the equation. Your franchisor can come to the equation with a larger pool of users if it's software related, a larger pool of individuals that are going to be tapping into a third party. So therefore, you can really reduce that price that might be normally paid by an individual that's going to be using something in a one-off or just a few times a year. You can imagine you multiply that by 25, 50, 100 locations, you can really drive those prices down for the benefit of all the franchisees of that system. And that's something at Caring we've always really worked hard to make sure we have, is that our franchise owners receive the benefits of that negotiation. So that's, again, a big benefit of being part of the franchise system. There are definitely drawbacks that include things like, while creativity is not necessarily limited, maybe the use of that creativity could be limited. You might not be able to come up with new products and services as freely as you'd be able to on your own. Maybe if you're your individual business owner, you could try things and fail a little bit more if you like to do that. It's not something I would suggest is a good way to operate business, having done it for nearly 12 years. Failure comes at a great cost, both of time and money, and simply resources, and those things aren't beneficial in the long run, but they're part of the learning curve. But of course, that learning curve is reduced when you're part of a franchise, so you simply don't have to go through those trials and tribulations. But and it can be a little bit, if you have something you think is in the marketplace, that it can be a little slower to develop. In any institution, as it gets larger, it does tend to slow down some, so things might not progress as much as you like. Again, that could be negative, but it also is something that can be advantageous, because oftentimes as an entrepreneur, new ideas and the newest thing that's out there might be something you want to do, but without limits on that ability just to implement something, it can actually hurt you, because you can implement the wrong thing. You can take the actions that you didn't really need to take or want to take, and that can hurt you in the long run. So being part of a large organization allows a system to test stuff out before it gets rolled out everywhere, to make sure the kinks are worked out, things of that nature. So that's, again, it's a benefit and a drawback of being part of a franchise system. And there's probably a lot more that are out there. I'm pretty limited in my franchise ownership, having started my own business and then started this franchise company. I've not done and dealt with other franchise systems, though I do attend national conferences and pretty plugged into franchising in general. For the most part, in America, franchising really is the easiest way to get into business for yourself. Pulls together so much into one place, and really limits the time it takes to get into business and get started. So franchising, from that standpoint, just the starting point. I've watched people that have started their own business, the developing marketing materials that just, while a logo itself can take weeks and weeks to come up with, and then you always have a little bit of doubt whether it's going to be the right thing or not. Developing a brochure, business cards, websites, those things take a tremendous amount of time. So again, that's a benefit of a franchise system. Those things should come within the system, and you don't have to worry about doing all that on your own. Today, in the world of social media, and I don't know how many of you know much about SEO or search engine optimization or pay-per-click advertising. Those things are just, they're mind-boggling for a lot of us to even think about it and try and come up with a strategy that works. That alone in today's age is enough to say, let me be part of a franchise system, just almost full stop. We've done a lot of work in that area within our system, and we're constantly having to learn the newest and greatest techniques and strategies. And to be an independent doing those things, not part of a franchise system, would be really, really difficult. You can hire smart people that can do that, but that, again, comes at a cost. You're one business owner buying a service. You can't negotiate a favorable price very often. And while your cousin or your brother or your next door neighbor might be really smart when it comes to internet from being a talk about it, they may not be the ones you'd want to rely on to develop your business. But just so many other things that in business ownership people don't really recognize early on when they're thinking about opening a business that comes with being part of a franchise system. Just you're able to tap into a ton of knowledge within that system.
All right. That's great. So basically, drawback, to owning a franchise is maybe you're limited a little bit on flexibility, but it's totally outweighed by all the other positive things that you gain from being part of a franchise system. Can you give the listeners out there some tips on how to choose the right franchise system for them?
Yeah, definitely. And I will go back to one other point. I know that in franchising, there's two big factors that people think about when they're going to buy a franchise. First is the cost of that franchise, the initial fee to get into the franchise system. Sometimes that can be a small amount, $15,000, $20,000. Sometimes it could be $60,000, $70,000 just to join a system, and that's kind of a hard pill for some people to swallow. But again, I would say that the cost of developing just a website today is going to be probably in the range of $5,000 to $10,000, and then marketing materials, things like that. If you really add those costs up and the savings you get as a franchise system, those numbers really start to balance out. So it's money you're going to have to spend. The other thing is that people really start wondering about paying a franchise fee. That's kind of a negative of that franchise business. Every month I got to pay 5%, 7%, 8% to the franchisor, and that's something that people really they feel like that's coming out of their profit line. But what you do have with that is you do have an engaged partner. Something that I was recently talking to a person that was going to be selling their business, and they really didn't have advice and didn't have much help in that arena. And the new business owner was really not sure that they were going to stay with the business to teach them. Well, as a franchisor, we're invested in success of our franchisees. So even though that percentage might seem like a lot, you've got an ongoing partner that you can call anytime to discuss and work with your business. And it's up to you to tap into it as much or as little as you want to. But they're incentivized, the franchisor is incentivized to help you succeed because it's a win-win. We're truly partners with our franchise owners because we don't grow if they don't grow. And that's important to know. We can do nothing ourselves to generate that revenue except help our owners to grow their business. And that's every franchise system. So, when you're looking at a franchise and then you're down to the point where like, which one do I want to go with? How do I pick that right franchise partner or that right company? I think the first thing you got to look at is do you connect with the ownership of that franchise system or the leadership of that system? Are they the type of people that you feel have your interests in mind? Do they care about you as an owner? Do they care about you as your goals as a business owner? Do they, not that they just want your money up front? I think all franchisors are going to want that. But are they going to really see you be successful? Do they want you to be successful? Do they care about long term? Do they talk about things like your wealth improvement or wealth increasing, which is like long term? Are you going to get value back out of this business? Do they talk about your retirement? Do they have interest in knowing what you want to do, how you want to retire, how your business ownership kind of plays into that retirement? Because those are things that you want to know that they're thinking about, because that's what you're investing in. You're spending your time, energy, and money in a business, and that business at some point is something you're likely going to either sell or hand off to family, and you need to know that is improving your situation in life. Otherwise, we tell people you should just go get a really good paying job. If you're not going to do this and work hard at it and build equity in a business, that doesn't make sense to take the risk of ownership and the cost of ownership. But And while connecting with leadership is important, because you want to know where they're going and what direction the company has and how they're going to make sure that they're helping all of their franchisees succeed. But do you connect with the support staff and the teams? Know that teams might change. The people you start with are unlikely going to be there because they're in a job, they're in a career. They might be moving through that company. But as a whole, does the leadership putting in place people that you can connect with? Does their culture fit with what you envision or what you want to be part of? Because they're going to be the ones you're going to be on the phone with on a regular basis. They're the people that are going to be helping you. And do they understand what your goals are as well? Are they helping you stay focused and move forward on those things? But Other things that you look for in that franchise, the right franchise company, is how long have they been in business, and not just how long have they been franchising. I think that's important, but how long have they actually ran the industry that you're getting involved in? Karen, we were involved for 12 years running and operating business. I myself was the individual who started my first location, direct hands-on with that location. Obviously, when I opened my second, third, and fourth locations, I wasn't as directly involved. But what I did is each time I moved to another city and started that business. So it wasn't like I became suddenly a CEO and wasn't involved in the day-to-day operations. And for me, that meant I knew client names, I knew caregiver names in our industry. It's about clients that we serve and the caregivers that serve those clients directly. But I knew those people. I'd move from one city to the next, start up that next office, get my staff trained and following through on our commitments as a company. And that's important to know. Is that company involved? How long have they really been in the business? Did they start their first location only to become a franchisor, which means their commitment might not be the same as others? Doesn't mean that they've got a bad system. It indicates how long they've actually been operating in the business. Is all of their institutional knowledge gained solely from the work of others, or do they themselves have institutional knowledge that they're bringing to that equation? So it's really important to know. And probably also is like, do they have company owned stores? And in franchising, there's a debate. Do company stores reflect positively or negative on the franchisor? The reason that might be the case is a franchisor, from a negative perspective, is the franchisor focused on running the business that the franchisees do, which sounds okay, but in some ways they're running a different business, or are they engaged in the act of franchising, try to expand and grow the franchise system? We look at that as we need to know what's happening in senior care to be a leader in senior care. And we can get a lot of feedback from our franchise owners, but our franchise owners don't have a lot of time to educate us. They're not going to spend their time saying, hey, Jeff, hey, Ian, hey, Caring HQ, let me tell you what's happening out here in the real world. And we simply might not have time if we didn't have company-owned stores to understand that fully. But at Caring, we do have company-owned stores, so we know what's happening in senior care. We have our locations that we initially started and have operated for many, many years. So we keep in close, we keep our ear to the ground, if you will, and really know what's going on in senior care. And we know what works from a business development side. We understand how to market the business because we're out marketing our own businesses. And from a perspective of, we eat our own cooking. So whenever we're telling our franchisors to operate in a certain way, that's the way that we're operating. So we're not saying do as I say, not as I do. Absolutely, we're doing exactly the same things that we tell our franchisees to do. And a kind of a sixth part of that is that I don't know if you were counting. There was 5 things. There's a sixth one. I think you go back and roll the tape back. But the sixth one that I would say is that by owning our own stores, we also have the ability to do a lot of research and development. And that matters to our franchisees because that research and development is something that we can test new ideas, and it doesn't come at the expense and the cost of the franchisee trying those things. It may kind of go back into one of the drawbacks of owning a franchise business, but I would quickly try to turn that into a benefit because to experiment is costly. It can cost you time, energy, and money. And if it's a failed experiment, that's money down the drain. So what we do is we try to make sure that those things are done for our franchisees. So when you're looking at companies, see what do they do when it comes to research and development. Ask those type of questions. Really, what's the way that they come up with new ideas, and how do they make sure they work within the system? Because a lot of franchisors might say, "Oh, well, if we see a franchisee doing something really good, we just share that with everybody." But that's really, I think, has a lot of potential. It's a danger zone because what one franchisee is able to do may not be indicative of what the system can do. You've got to really analyze, is that success due to that franchisee's involvement in that project or his love in that one area within the business? And is the other areas of the business suffering because he's focused in that? So you could end up taking what seems like a really great idea and spreading it around, but it could turn out that it doesn't necessarily focus in the right ways of the business. So what we do is we try and make sure that those things fit within our system, and it's something that any franchisee can add to their system with minimal change or minimal investment where it makes sense, at least.
All right, great. That's some great insight onto helping those that are looking at becoming franchise owners on how to choose the right franchise system. What about tools that franchisors use to help their franchisees become successful? Can you kind of cover that on a general basis, and maybe touch on what Caring Senior Service does specifically in regard to providing tools to their franchisees?
Well, I think when I think of tools, it's kind of hard to come up with tools that franchisors in general might use. I think each and every franchise system develops its own unique ways of analyzing how a franchisee is implementing their system, and really um, uh, that I think is going to be wide ranging. What I might speak to a little bit is more of how someone would be successful within a franchise system. First and foremost, we always advise people to become educated themselves. Reading is a good way to do that, and one of the books that we think is one of the best books for franchisees to read is called The Educated Franchisee. That book, we advise people to read that, knowing that means they're going to challenge us in some areas that can be a challenge for any franchisor, because it really holds our feet to the fire. But and then the other things that someone that's going to go into franchising should think about is, focus on the things that really matter. We can get distracted so easily in our businesses from day in, day out, no matter what type of business you're running. And you can get focused on little details that at the end of the day don't really make the difference that we think they should make. But focus on the big things that matter. And if you don't know what those things are, talk to your franchisor, and they should be able to help you narrow down the list of things you should put on your to-do list each and every day. It's something that I know, Michael, you're our part of our marketing team, and part of one of your staff members is involved in sales coaching. And she has the challenge of helping our owners stay focused on sales. Each one of us can go into our office and end up spending 6 hours in the office, because we'll find plenty of things that seem important, but we don't really put them through that Franklin Covey matrix of important but can be put off, or urgent and important type of things. And sales often falls into that category of I can put it off till later. And things like, just don't come to the office, go out and focus on sales the entire day, is a little something that people can forget about. So focusing on what matters is really important. And then building your foundation of your business. And that, what we mean by that, is dedicate yourself to learning the system, really focus on understanding what it takes to be successful within the system, and building that foundation of knowledge, really learning and dedicating yourself to understanding the fundamentals of that business. At Caring, fundamental is take care of your clients and everything else will come. And that's something that we really want our owners to know, what taking care of your clients means. It's not just calling them and talking to them. It's really understanding what their individual situation is, but focusing on that and learning what you can do day in and day out about the system that really makes it its core functions. But staying engaged is an important aspect of being successful in a system, because by being engaged, by asking questions, reading the emails, making sure that you are attending conferences that the franchisor puts on, getting on webinars that might be similar to this one, really engaged and being open to questioning yourself. Am I doing the things I'm supposed to be doing day in and day out? And then finally, I'd say, demanding attention. Really, it doesn't mean stomp your feet and cry a lot, but it means that you want to call your franchisor. If you're having an issue, say, hey, I'm having an issue here. I need your help. And don't expect that just because you've raised the flag that the troops come running. You've got to raise the flag and sound the alarm and do whatever else you might need to do until they show up. And it's not that they ignore you or that they don't want to help or they're lazy. It's just that there's a lot of people out there demanding attention. And it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And those sort of things are important for people to remember. One thing that we do to help our franchisors, one tool we use is we call it a great care audit. So what we do is make sure that we've boiled down the most important things that a franchise location, a caring senior service operations should be doing. And we audit that location and then talk to the owner about how they can improve those things. We put together what's called a growth development plan to help our owners really grow their business. And part of that plan is to analyze their current operations, really audit their office, understand what they're doing well, what they need to keep doing therefore, and where they need improvement. And just pointing out where they need improvement is not good enough. It's about creating a plan so that they can understand what they can change to improve. What we don't know, we don't know. And until someone comes along and helps us understand that we're doing something because we didn't know it is just immensely beneficial, because otherwise the owner will keep doing those things. The business owner won't know how to use a system. And it comes in the simplest of ways. It can be a simple extra area within the software that the person doesn't know about. It could be something as simple as a little click on the right hand area of the screen that they didn't know existed. It could be a field that they're not recording data in that really changes the whole report that shows something. And it's amazing how it's little tiny things at times that can really change for people. But if you don't get that audit, someone's not inspecting you, then you'll never know it. And being open to those inspections, that's kind of again, some advice I'd give to those if you become a franchise owner, is being open to those inspections, not thinking of it as, oh, here's corporate coming to look at what I'm doing wrong. But be willing to say, yeah, tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I don't know what I don't know. And if someone doesn't tell me, I'm doomed to keep doing the same mistake or missing out on opportunity, really is what it is. So that's something that's again, that's how we do. We use it with we call it great care audits, and then we do a growth plan. So we really focus on what they need to do to grow. So that for us is our tool, the main tools that we use to help them become successful outside of our other stuff. We have training programs, we have coaching that we do with our owners. Coaching is an area that we focus. You initially get trained on how to do something, and then someone has to watch you do what you're doing, and they got to coach you and spot what's going wrong. It's kind of the same thing as the audit to some degree, but coaching is more in the moment while it's happening. Again, like our sales coaching is a great area where our coach will talk to people after they've gone out and done marketing visits, and they'll kind of debrief about that visit, and we give instant feedback about what could have been done differently. Sometimes it's, hey, great job, you're doing everything you needed to, or hey, here's some things you can improve on, some things you can remember to talk about next time. That kind of in the moment coaching is really helpful, and that's kind of a tool that we use at Caring to help our owners be successful. But again, tools is really specific to the franchise system, I think, and for us, it's a matter of finding the right, understanding the business owners what they're really good at. As I'm talking, I'm coming up with a ton of tools we use now. Just understanding someone's personality, I think, is a big deal, to make sure that they're in the right, working in the right capacity within the business. Our particular franchise requires that our owners get out and promote the business. And sometimes our owners aren't the best person to promote their business because they maybe loathe marketing and don't want to get out there and do that. Or they might not like the operational part of the business because it holds them down and sticks them in an office. And that's understandable. So analyzing someone's personality, understanding what they're good at, is really an important tool that we use to then advise that owner how they should operate their business. And that's something at Caring, at least as a franchise system, we're not afraid to tell an owner where they should be within the business. And sometimes it's like, hey, you don't need to be the one managing the schedule. You need to be the one that's out promoting the business. Or conversely, hey, maybe you're passionate about the business, but the way you're presenting it might not be working. And we've been working with you, and it's not helping. So let's think about hiring a new person to go out there and market the business. You focus on the operational side of things. So it really can vary. But again, franchisors all have their own tools that use, but that's something, going back to how to choose the right franchise company is asking about some of those tools. How are you going to help me be better at my business? How are you going to recognize that I don't know what I don't know? That question alone, I think, would probably shut down a lot of franchise ors right away, because they're like, oh, how do we know if you don't know what you don't know? And at Caring, we strive to find out what our franchisees don't know, and it's something that it takes some finesse to get that right, because no one wants to be told they're doing things wrong, especially after they've been in business for a year, 2 years, or longer, and they might kind of go off the path from where they were doing things. And our job is to help them get back on that path and stay focused on the business, because it is about long-term business ownership, building equity in your business, and improving your wealth overall, because we don't invest in these businesses because we want to have a job. We invest in these businesses because we want to do something we love to do, something that's rewarding for us, and something that will very hopefully be an investment and a vehicle towards our retirement and helping us have a pleasurable retirement.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, Jeff. We've covered everything on the agenda. One last thing, if you would just kind of talk about why Caring. Why would a business owner or a future franchisee want to choose Caring Senior Service?
Well, choosing Caring means choosing a involvement in a line of work that is about helping people. So if the journey to business ownership has gotten someone to this video and watching this, it means that they're thinking about what it would be like to be involved in a business that is first and foremost a growing industry. The amount of seniors, of individuals turning 65 is a well-known fact, but our average age is 86.2 years old. So it's going to be a while before the baby boomers become our clients. But when that wave hits, it just kind of crashes on the shores, and it's 30, 40 feet high type of thing, and from an image standpoint. And getting in this business now and understanding this business being established means that you're going to be able to tap into the silver tsunami of America. So that's why to get into senior care. There's a lot of economics that say this is the area to be in. It's an ongoing, continuing growth area within the economy. So that's number one. Then as you start looking at across the different senior care companies that are out there is why any one particular company. At Caring, we definitely understand what it's like to be involved in senior care. Having started in 1991, we have seen the progression and changes in senior care throughout the last 2 decades, and now we're approaching 30 years. And the fact that we've been involved from day one in the industry means that Caring knows how to care for seniors. We know what seniors want. We understand caregivers. We know how to find caregivers, because that's probably going to be continues to be a stressful area within the business. And it's going to be a continued stressed area within the business, which is finding enough caregivers to provide the services. And we understand how to find caregivers. We understand how to be efficient as a business, because we don't waste a lot of money on staffing internally. We don't waste a lot of money on our recruitment. We spend money on recruitment, but we do it in a smart way. We understand how to find the caregivers that are able to do the work and able to accomplish the needs of our clients. in an efficient manner. And then we've really been investing in our own technology. It wasn't we were like many senior care companies for many years. We used other people's technology, other software companies that would sell a software package to a company like ours that made us kind of fit inside their little box of what senior care should be like. And we felt that was too constraining for us. So we spent our time developing our own software that allows us to drive the equation completely. So today, our software allows for a completely paperless office. And while that might seem like common sense, very few senior care businesses are completely paperless. And to be completely paperless means that you've got from the very first application from a caregiver all the way to their onboarding and all the paperwork they fill out has to be done electronically. So we've completely made that process of bringing on caregivers a seamless process. Caregivers love it because they don't have to fill their name out on 50,000 forms. They don't have to worry about doing all of the hours and hours of paperwork. In fact, we could practically hire someone by just doing a video call like this with them. If they meet our criteria, they have a clean background check. We do it all online. And they complete all the paperwork. They do it all from the comfort of their home, which we don't do that yet, except in some extreme cases. We have the capability of doing that, and that's different. It's all in one system also, so you're not going from one system to the other to accomplish this. Applicant tracking systems, onboarding systems are not new. They've been around for a long time, but most companies have to use 3 or 4 different logins to get all the things accomplished. They have to learn 3 or 4 different software packages to make it all come together. For us, it's all within one system. And that same advantage of a technology when it comes to caregivers also goes into clients. So healthcare is a paper-driven business, unfortunately, but at Caring, we've been able to eliminate the need for that paper. So using a simple laptop computer or a tablet even, we can go and do a complete client assessment. And we've developed tools that assessment is done all very straightforward. And I don't want to say simple, but it is something that is easily learned by individuals. And it's all paperless. So the clients can sign on for service without ever having to touch a piece of paper. That then leads to our ability to schedule. Our system allows you to schedule the caregivers on cases, allows for electronic communications via text message, email. Our phone systems are all VoIP phone systems, so voice over internet phone systems. So you don't have to actually establish a phone number with a company, a Bell company anymore. And that's all baked into our software. Combine that with then caregivers are able to use a tablet. We place a tablet in each and every client's home, kind of like everyone knows what a tablet is. It's an Android tablet that we put into each client's home. And the caregiver, when they get on site, they log into that tablet, they clock in to their visit. I'm here at 9 o'clock. And then they can complete their visit note all electronically, all allowing the families to see what's happening. Families know when someone's clocking in, when they're clocking out. Clients, if they're inclined to, can also see that. And they can keep track of all of their electronic health record within that system, at least the health record that's related to the work that we do with them. And the reason this really matters is that for the business owner, you can operate your business from anywhere. If you've got this tablet, you know what's going on within your business. Now, you still do have to have an office because you still have to interview people. You still have to keep some things in file cabinets. But we're working to where an owner can have a laptop or a simple tablet, and they can operate their business from anywhere at any time, accessing their client information, their caregiver information, doing a video call with a client while they're anywhere they might find themselves at any given moment. And that's a big part of our technology is not only can the caregiver clock in and clock out, but then you can do a video call with that tablet. We're different. We put a tablet in each client's home, and that allows for that video call to happen with the client. And then family members can also use that same technology to conduct a video call with their loved one. So that's just again, I've spent probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes talking just about our technology side of things, about caring, but that's a big factor when people make a decision, is that we have built our own in-house system that works in a way that's unique to senior care. While we may not be the only ones that have proprietary software, our software does a lot more than others from the get-go. The applicant tracking aspect of it, the management of your caregivers, the management of schedule, because then you can do your billing and your payroll all within our system as well. And that's again, that's important as a business owner, because it just streamlines your business. It's things like that that help us to bring our costs down, which when you bring the cost down in a business, that means more profit. And more profit means your investment increases and you're going to have a more higher valued business at the end of the day. You don't have to hire staff. And with our technology, it's also allowed us to do things like creating a recruitment center and an intake center. So our newest franchise owners starting off their business, we can begin answering their phone between 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock for any new client calls that come in. We can take that call for them, help that client understand how caring will help them in their home, help them remain healthy, happy at home, and get that complete intake scheduled without their having to even answer the phone. And then recruiting, caregiver, I talked earlier about caregiver recruitment is going to be something that people are going to be continually dealing with in our industry. We've developed a recruitment center so that what happens for us today is our newest franchise owners starting up, they just have caregivers showing up that are basically ready to go to work. So they do a short interview and that person's ready to be hired. They didn't have to worry about placing an ad. They didn't have to worry about talking to people on the phone. They just had caregivers show up and an interview was conducted, and they do the interview on a tablet using it all electronically, and they have staff ready to go to work. So again, we're doing a lot of things at Caring to streamline the operations so that the business owner can focus on the things that are really important, and that's client care and marketing the business. Those are two things that we can't do a mission for you. We can't go out there in the field. Someone has to physically go and meet the client, and we can't go out and market the business. Well, we do a ton of work on the SEO side and the internet advertising side. Business owners still need to go out and hustle and sell their business locally. By us focusing on all the back end side of the business operations, making the software efficient and effective, we're able to really get the owner focused on what matters, which again, what I went back to, which is, tools to help a owner become successful, just focus on what matters. Client care and sales. Get out and sell my business, market, and promote my business in the local community. So, those are some key factors why you choose Caring, why we feel we've got a really strong business, and there's probably a number of things I didn't even touch on that would be included in that, and that's why you may want to get on the next call we have like this.
All right, thank you, Jeff. As always, your passion for the business definitely shines through, and knowledgeable about the business from top to bottom. I really appreciate you taking out the time to speak with us and educate us on why franchising. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.